Thank you for agreeing to this interview. We've known each other for about a year now, but we've started training together for about 6 months. Coming to you was a huge step in the right direction with my health and fitness, and I've always thought of you to have a unique mind. You've been driven and committed to your dream, and that is why I wanted to go into deeper knowledge of your journey. Before we get started, I would like to ask for your permission to record our interview. This interview will be shared with my fellow classmates and teacher, and if at any time during the interview you would like me to stop recording, I will do so. Do I have your consent?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Let's get this going. All right, so we're going to start with high school. What sports did you play in high school?
In high school, I played football. I was an offensive lineman all 4 years. And I did track and field all 4 years. Oh, no, 3 years.
What was your event?
I was a thrower. Yeah, so shot put, discus.
Got it. Did you have any influences in high school for where you are now? Any sports icons, coaches?
Weightlifting is one of those things where it's like, it's a training modality, so it's something that you have to do that bleeds into the other sports that you do.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have never figured myself to be a, semi-professional athlete and a coach who basically coaches Olympic weightlifting full time. Yeah, so I would have never pictured myself doing this until, very recently, where it's just kind of fallen into place where this is my job now and I really wouldn't want to do anything else.
Right.
So no, there was no real influences in high school as far as what I do now.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of fell into my lap.
Right. What were your graduation plans?
Honest to God, it was probably really, it was just graduate first and then see what was on the horizon afterwards.
Yeah.
I kept getting hurt playing football, so I never really had any prospects for going and playing in
mm-hmm.
college.
Mm-hmm.
I played baseball growing up, and I was definitely good at baseball, but I didn't make the high school team because I never went to the camp. And every year that I tried out, I was hurt because of football.
Right.
So from my sophomore year to my senior year of high school, I played in one football game because I kept hurting myself.
Was there a specific injury that just kept on?
Yeah, it was both of my knees. As an offensive lineman, I just kept getting rolled up on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd have these guys roll up on my knees, and then my knees would basically pop out of place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd have fat MCL sprains and micro tears. So that was never good. So yeah, I'd never had any real prospects with sports
mm-hmm.
after high school or graduating. My senior year, I had to start working, so I couldn't really devote a really solid season to throwing anyway. So yeah, when I graduated, I took some time off. I took some time off of school. I didn't go to school directly after that.
Mm-hmm.
I was just kind of coasting, and that's when I got hired at a pizza place.
Mm-hmm.
And in that pizza place, I gained, I think I went from 240 pounds, and I gained 60 pounds just eating pizza in the span of 8 months. And then after that, me and my buddies decided that we wanted to get into CrossFit. And then from CrossFit, we eventually found weightlifting.
Yeah.
And that was 2016. So, what is it? We're 2021 now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, a little less than 5 years at this point when we finally, we officially started training and weightlifting. So, that's kind of where it's headed.
Yeah.
Like I said, it really just fell into my lap.
Probably not. So then we're going to talk about post-high school.
Okay.
What got you interested in Olympic weightlifting? You kind of just mentioned that, but you said CrossFit was kind of that.
So we got all three of my friends, myself and my two really good friends at the time. We were all pretty much stuck with the same thing. We all had aspirations to do something. My two buddies were going into firefighting and the military, but to get into it, it's like a long waiting period. And I was just kind of coasting as to what I was doing because I was just trying to figure it out. So we all play football, and because of football ending and not really training, we were all working, I think, in restaurants, and it turned into all of us basically gaining weight and just getting bigger. And we're like, this isn't fun. This isn't really a good thing. So we started CrossFit because we watched the first Fittest on Earth movie. And after that, we were like, man, these guys are sexy. Like, these dudes are like super buff, they're super good athletes, and like we used to be decent athletes. Like, what's fun, like we could probably do this. Like we could probably we could at least get to a competition, a competition mode, and maybe get competition ready for it. Little did we know that to get to the CrossFit Games, it was like a lot of work. I mean,
pretty crazy.
It was back then. It was crazy. It's even crazier now. But we started off at. We just got really hyped up. We got really jazzed up about it. And then we went to like the UFIT, which is like, what is it? It's like a softer. It was like a softer Planet Fitness, almost, where it was like no dropping weights, no nothing. Right. So we would go like early in the morning or late at night, and we would do like a CrossFit workouts there, and like it's a UFIT. It's just a Globo gym, so there's nothing there. And then instead of getting like nutting up and getting a membership to like a CrossFit gym, we got a membership to like the EOS Fitness. The EOS Fitness had a little separate area that had like two platforms and like a little cardio center where you could play basketball, and there was like a little turf, and it was just a little cool center. It was $5 a month. So you can't, when you weigh the cost of like $110+ a month for CrossFit versus $5 a month, and we can just do our own workouts. We just did that. So eventually it got to the point where I was doing these CrossFit workouts with them, and then I kind of took a real long look in the mirror, and I was like, I'm really big. Like I'm like 300 pounds, and I just don't like breathing hard. I don't like doing any of this dumb cardio stuff that just makes me feel just like I want to die. But what I'm really good at is the strength. Like, I'm really strong. I've always been really strong. Like in high school, I broke my high school squat record in my junior year. I squatted 515 pounds. Like the squat, I think the record was like 505, and I did 515. So I've always been higher up in the strength numbers. So it turned into, okay, you guys do CrossFit, I'm just going to focus on this weightlifting stuff. And then it turned into me going to the gym with them still, but instead of me dying while they're sitting there dying, like on the floor breathing hard, I'm like doing my reps and doing my sets. I'm practicing my snatches and clean and jerks, and then eventually they're all like, "Oh, let's just start doing weightlifting." So we started doing weightlifting all together, and then eventually from there we ran into our first coach, and then it kind of grew from there, and blossomed from there into eventually where we're at now.
You kind of answered my second question, which was, when did you realize you wanted to pursue weightlifting? But
Well, there's a bigger answer to that one.
Okay.
So it kind of went hand in hand with starting weightlifting, right? I started weightlifting, but there was no, like, it was something that we were doing, right? It was something that we were doing at that point just for fun, just to get healthier and just a training modality. But at this point, it was like the main training that we were doing. I remember it was like a really low point in my life where, I was going to school for a little bit. I was mixed up in between what I wanted to do, and I think I'd been training for a couple months. I might have been like 3 or 4 months at this point.
Yeah.
And this was just like the first time in my life where a sport had ever made me feel like this good about myself, and like I showed actual promise, like besides baseball, but I didn't want to pursue that again because it's a team sport as opposed to individual sport.
Yeah.
When an individual sport, but in a team sport, you're only as good as your weakest player. You know, like, or I guess the opposite, where like you're if you suck, if there's someone on your team that sucks, everybody else can pick up the slack for this guy, right? Well, if you suck and you're the only one that's on the platform lifting and you're trash, that's your fault. Yeah. You're solely responsible for how good you are. So that's what really like drove me to it. So it was like 3 or 4 months into it. There's no money in weightlifting. Right. Like really there's none. As a professional, like even like as a semi-professional, the most money I'm getting is from like my job coaching, right? Yeah. The most money I probably ever see as a fully sponsored or like fully professional USAW stipend athlete, probably anywhere between $3,000 and $5,000 a month. Okay. Which is good, but it's not like baseball or football money. Yeah, you know, nothing like that. But even then, it's like, hey, $3,000 to $5,000 a month. That's on top of what I make, you know, as a coach. That'd be great. Yeah. So that's always a goal. So I think it was a period of time where I was stressing about what it was I wanted to do for the rest of my life, like everybody does. Everybody who's sitting in a classroom right now listening to what I'm talking about. We all don't know what we want to do with our lives. That's right. I think I got out of work one time and I was gonna go train. But I was in this weird headspace. I remember this day vividly. Like I was in this weird headspace where I was like, man, like I love weightlifting. There's no money in it. Yeah. So I can't really support myself, but I love it and I want to do it. Yeah. I was like, I don't know what else I would do. Like at this point, I really don't know what else I would do with my life. Yeah. Like I could go back to school. I could do all this stuff and be like super unhappy or super unsatisfied. So I remember pulling into like the Target parking lot by my house and like sitting in my car like crying because I was like, I just want to be the best at this. Like I just want to be the best at it. I really don't care what happens. I really don't care that there's no money in it. So it was like a really hard decision that I had to make for myself where it was like, man, I really just have to kind of go all in on this and just see what happens. And I was not doing well in school anyway. Like I was not invested. Like all my time was going toward training and I wasn't even good. Like I was trash. Like if you look back at those videos from like 2016, I was just straight ass. And like I'm scratching the surface now what my like true potential is now because I'm in the right position with the right coaches. Right. But even back then, as a 18-year-old kid, I was like, let's commit to something. Yeah. Because I don't know what else I'd commit to in my life. Right. So I told myself that I would stop going to school and that I would give myself basically a year from that point to qualify for the American Open Finals. Right. The American Open Finals is basically like the second hardest. I guess it's like the second hardest, or maybe even one of the top it's just a top national competition besides the USA weightlifting nationals in the US to qualify for, right? And here I am, this kid, like the only experience I ever had with it was in high school, and the high school coaches suck.
Yep.
Right, I'm learning the sport all brand new again.
Right.
And like, this is my goal, right? I was like, I can put my life on hold for a year to train and see if I'm good at something, right?
Yeah.
And if I'm good at it and I qualify, then afterwards, then we'll see what happens. If I am not good enough, maybe it's just a training modality and I just use it to exercise.
Yeah.
Right? And then I figure out what else I want to do. So I committed. I was like, this is what I'm going to do for this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat and like planned it out, what meets I was going to do, what numbers I had to hit, because that's the things you have to qualify for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have to hit like a 300. I had to hit a 300 kilo total, which is a 130 kilo snatch, so it's 285 pounds snatch, and then 170 kilo clean and jerk, which is 374 pound clean and jerk. And I had to do that basically within the first year of me starting.
Yeah.
Right? So I did that, and I qualified for that meet.
Wow.
Within, I think, 8 months of that goal. Right? I qualified for 8 or 9 months. It was kind of really close.
Yeah.
But I qualified for it, and I hit those numbers, qualified for the meet, and then went that December to the finals, and then had like the best meet that I've had probably ever, maybe even now, because I went 6 for 6. Like, I hit all my lifts on the platform. I took second place in the B session, which was like 12th place overall. So like 12th place overall in the United States for a kid who had only been doing it for less than a year.
Yeah.
It was like pretty tight. And I was like, man, I might be kind of okay at this, right? Let's actually push it and see. Around that time, we had switched coaches. And then we were with that coach for about 3 years, right? And then
switched up.
And then we left that coach at the start of at the start of last year, basically in July of last year, and then made our way to the coaches that we're at now. And now we've improved much more. But it all started with one decision to give up the time that I have, because that's the one thing that, if anything, that I've learned from any of the managers I've ever had, is the only thing I'm not going to get back is time.
Yeah.
So if there's anything you're going to do, you just commit to one thing and put your time into that, and then see what happens. 'Cause that's the only way you learn and see if you're made of anything. Like, if you have the stuff, right? You can sit there and kind of debate and think about it, but you're never going to know until you do it. So that's kind of how it happened.
When was your first competition? Was it the U.S.?
No, that was so I had set a goal for myself. That goal that I had to compete at the AO finals, I had set a goal for myself where I wanted to compete in 5 meets before I was 22.
Okay.
I did 5 meets in that one 12-month period, right? I think my first ever meet was at Renatus in Hemet, because we started weightlifting fall of 2016, and I think it might have been December of 2016 or early spring of 2017. I think my first competition was 2017.
Yeah.
So we did 5 meets within that 12-month period from January, February to December. December being the 5th one.
Got it.
Yeah. And I wrote that down. I was like, I'm going to do 5 before I'm 22. And I just did the 5, and the 5th one was that one.
Nice.
Yeah.
So last and final section is coaching / mentorship. When did you start your podcast and YouTube channel?
My podcast, like I hurt my wrist back in 2018 at the American Open Series 3 in Las Vegas. So I hurt my wrist, almost broke it in half with a 190 kilo clean and jerk.
What's that in pounds?
419 pounds. So it was after I hurt my wrist where I was going through like a really dark period of time.
Yeah.
Because my coach had like stopped talking to me and I was going through a really rough period with weightlifting. So I was like, I've given so much to the sport in a couple of years that I've been doing it. Like, it's kind of messed up to not get their love from the sport back.
Yeah.
Like, but the barbell it's a barbell. It doesn't care.
No.
Right? So I had a really hard time dealing with it. So I started my podcast that like I think I got hurt in September. And I think I started in November, December over the course of my rehabbing and coming back.
Yeah.
Because it was just a way to get the stuff off of my mind and like put it out there where I would just talk to it, like just talk it through and really just. It was just my way of staying motivated and finding things that motivated me. So it did its job and it did its purpose for the duration of when it was up. I think I did it for like a solid a year. I think the last episode I did was at the start of quarantine last year, sometime in between. But yeah, it served its purpose as to what it was trying to do. It was just trying to keep me sane. And then so the YouTube channel, not for the same reason, but during quarantine because there was like nothing else to do. I was just bored.
Yeah.
I was just bored, and we started training, and we have our own setup in the garage. So it was like, oh, might as well do something with it. You know, take a document what it is that we're doing in the garage, so you know we can look back on it. And I mean, it was also like throughout quarantine, so it'd probably be interesting looking back now. It was like all these videos were done during quarantine.
Yeah.
So going back, looking at your progress, looking at that was in the middle of like a pandemic.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty fun to look back on. But that one was more a creative outlet because throughout like the entirety of quarantine, it was just kind of a mix of training, being unemployed and playing Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And it was like I'm playing Call of Duty for 8-9 hours a day.
Yeah.
And then I need something else to do. So it turned into something else to do. You know, I just didn't like the feeling of not being productive aside from weightlifting.
Right.
You know?
Is there any future additions to that now? Do you plan on bringing the podcast back up, YouTube back up, maybe, you know?
I mean, it's probably not my podcast, but being a part of the other podcasts that I like. The cool thing about what I've done with my podcast and my video editing skills and all that stuff that I've kind of taught myself is that it's, aside from the things that I was already good at, like sports, teaching myself new skills has made me more of a valuable person to other people. So coming in with the knowledge of how to run my own podcast, how to record and edit, like that's not something a lot of people know how to do. Same thing with videography and editing little movies and little just like YouTube videos and stuff. You know, that's something that makes me valuable to other people too. So when it comes to my coaching and the business that I'm a part of now, like I do record and edit videos like for Instagram and do stuff for them to help them. Podcasts, like the podcast that we're starting, the podcast that we're starting, like me and my coach and my teammate Danny, like the ones that we're starting, like that's something that we're bringing to the table that, you know, I have to take the lead on as the creative director of SoCal weightlifting, right? So as I do that, that's kind of where it's going. My personal things. I think the thing that I would like to do is my YouTube channel, but it's just so busy now. So I don't really mind if I don't.
Right.
I know that I'm doing something instead. Like really, it's the things that I kind of have dabbled in they have a time, like they serve a purpose.
Right.
Like the podcast was because I got hurt, and eventually got over it, and eventually got to the point where my mental health was at a point where, I didn't need to vent to everybody.
Yeah.
And talk to them about how to stay motivated. Because I'd found that the YouTube channel was, because the thing that I would train and then record, and it would take all day. And editing would take all day on like a 20-30 minute video.
Yeah.
And that's just how I learned. And then that served its purpose, where being unemployed and not doing anything, like that's what that served. That's what purpose that served. So now where it's, I don't have to vent my sorrows to everybody. I don't have to fill up my time. I'm busy all the time, and I'm communicating and talking to people all the time anyway. So they've served their purpose. So who knows? I think now it's more I'm doing it to help other people instead of helping myself.
Got it.
And that was the main purpose of both of them, where it was I didn't really care whether or not people tuned in and listened. It was more like, I'm doing this for me, and if you like it, welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of your coaching / mentorship goals?
Coaching.
Yeah.
I just had a conversation with one of my coaches today. The situation that I'm in, as far as the business that I'm a part of, they're structuring it to where eventually we'll have multiple locations, and we have like a good, solid, sizable chunk of people doing Olympic weightlifting across Southern California.
Yeah.
The conversation I had with my coach earlier today, or one of my coaches earlier today, was that I've been doing the internship process with them, and basically am a beginner coach now, coaching and taking people under my wing officially.
Yeah.
I've been doing that since October of last year, right? What are we in? March?
Yep.
October, November, December, January, February. This has been like 5-6 months.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's about the same amount of time that when we started talking about programming and training together.
Yeah, that's basically where it started.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just kind of hit me how much time I've spent at SoCal weightlifting.
Yeah.
Just being an intern and learning, and where I'm at now, which is, again, it's about committing time. Time you're never going to get back. So you might as well do it doing something that you like doing.
Yeah.
But we had a conversation today where he basically said, like, he wants to groom me and guide me so I can be the director of weightlifting for SoCal weightlifting, while he ascends to the next level of like director of weightlifting for all of SoCal, like all 3 locations, or all however many locations. Like he's grooming me so I can be director of weightlifting for a location.
Yes.
And then he can be the director of the directors, right? So that'd be pretty cool. Right now he has 70 athletes, but he runs a direction of weightlifting for all the people who are on the team, which is anywhere between 70 and 100, 110 athletes.
Yeah.
So to do that and be that guy for, another location would be, it's definitely something that I could see myself in. Because I was telling him earlier, I was like, what else would I be doing?
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's nothing else in my life that I would want to be doing. I wouldn't want to sit and work a retail job. Or we've done that.
Yeah.
Like, we've worked together.
Yeah.
We've done that. And as much as it was, at least for the time being, manageable, or even doable to just sit at a desk on my phone for 8 hours a day and help 2 customers.
It's insanity.
It's like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I'm sitting here getting paid $18 an hour to just sit on my phone and go on Reddit and just watch YouTube videos and watch videos of people weightlifting, but I was sitting here wasting my life.
Yeah.
Like, well, you know what I'd rather do? I'd rather do what I'm doing now, where I wake up at 6 a.m., to drive to my coach's house to get there at 7:30. We get to the gym at 8, and I'm from the gym from 8 a.m. until I get home at...
You got back at like 10.
Yeah, we got back at like 10:45.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I'd rather do. I'd rather do that every day forever and be exhausted and tired knowing that I'm fulfilled and helping people achieve their goals and sitting at a desk for 8 hours a day on my phone.
It's pretty wild how many people would see that and be like, wow, like, how could someone do that? When even, telling you about a year ago when I had my internship, and about midway through I was purchasing an internship, but I would just sit at my 2 monitors each day, and about halfway through I was like, I can't do this. Like, I saw a glimpse into the future that I could have had, and it was not what I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And exactly why I wanted to interview you, because you've turned over a new leaf for myself with health and fitness, and that's inspired me to even like do it when other people ask me. It's nothing serious to like how we talk about stuff, but it's like, hey, like, what's a diet I should try, or like what's like, you preach legs, and no one in like 24 hours preaches legs. So it's like when I tell people like work legs, it's like it descends from you.
Yeah.
So it's pretty wild to hear both sides, because I know a lot of people would be like, 40-hour week, where's that at? But it's like, you got how many hours would you say you work a week?
Depends on what you mean by work.
So like, if your time away from home was 14 hours today, 6 to 10.
Yeah.
So I'd say, it might not be full work, but it's like you're in the environment.
So we get there at 10. Oh, we get there at 8, and then or like 8:30, warm up to train, and I train from 10 to 1.
Yeah.
Right? I think so. 10 to 12. Either 10 to 12 or 10 to 1.
Yes.
Right? So it depends on whether you count training as work. I do, because it's
you're locked in.
Yeah, that's honestly, it's always been the most important thing. Like, the goal is the Olympics.
Yes.
That's where we're going. That's where I'm headed.
Yeah.
That's my plan.
Yeah.
It's just something I'm working towards. And every day I chip away at it, So 10 to 1, 10 to 12, 12 to, 10 to 1, or 10 to 1. Then after that, I'm in meetings. Meetings about programming, about being a better coach, and then actually coaching people.
Yeah.
That takes up. I'm just on my feet.
Yeah.
I'm like just walking around all day. That's why I said it's not really like, it's different, because it's not really like a set schedule. It's not like I clock in, clock out.
Yeah.
This is what I'm doing.
There's no 9 to
right.
5.
I'm just kind of up doing it all, because it all blends into each other, which is why it's so gratifying, because it's like there's different aspects that feed into it. So it's just different stimulating things all together.
Yeah.
But away from the house, you said it. Like, I was out of the house today. I woke up at 6, got out of here at 7, and then we got back 10:45.
Yeah. Why did you start? Why did you want to start coaching?
There's a personality test. I can't remember what it is. There's one that's like a 17 personalities one.
Yeah.
There's two, but there's one that's a 17 personalities one where, like, the personality trait that I got was like an extrovert, that led to coaching, and that it just led to like the characteristics that I had was like these people make great coaches, teachers, lawyers, just like people who speak, people whose like words carry weight.
Yeah.
There's another one that I took. I was a connector, a pioneer, that allowed me to like bring people together.
Yeah.
It brings people together, connects them to a certain thing, a certain product, a certain something. You know, I've always had that kind of personality. But even then, it's like those were just things that reaffirmed what it was that I felt like I should be doing.
Right.
But growing up, you know, I've always had that characteristic of I've always wanted to be like a motivational speaker.
Yep.
Or someone who does something in the realm of motivational speaking. But I've always wanted to do something with sports.
Yeah.
Right? So I think those two just kind of go hand in hand, where it's like with my experience and things that I've learned, the way my life has gone, I can give people this kind of advice.
Yeah.
And I don't know, at a certain point it's become all that I surround myself with, so it's all that I think about.
Yeah.
So it's all that I end up wanting to give people.
Right.
You know? Yeah, that's really it. I mean, aside from the fact that I can essentially be my own boss and create my own hours, because that's what happened. Is like in the middle of quarantine, I didn't know what was going to happen with like unemployment, if I was going to be taken off of it.
Yeah.
So that's where I started coaching people individually.
Yeah.
Even then, I didn't even market it. I was just telling people. I told you, and then I think I told one other person.
Yeah.
And eventually, at its height, I got to. I think it was like 8 or 9 athletes at like $120 a piece.
Yeah.
Right? And that was just because of who I am and the relationship that we built. And then as everything started opening up and my schedule got busier, it's dropped down to a couple of athletes that I've had, but it's been replaced by what I do now. So it's helped me grow as a person, become more responsible as a person.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just one of those things where I've always wanted to. I think I've just always wanted to help people.
Yeah.
And now I'm really just helping them whatever way they can, because for me, it's like weightlifting has changed my life because the decision that I made to commit my life to it.
Yeah.
Right. I've met people, had great opportunities. I've won. Like last year, I was sitting top 3 in the United States. Right, like after a couple years of being a nobody, you know, like the numbers that I've hit, like my best back squat, like 730 pounds, like my best numbers, I was like 160 snatch, 210 clean off blocks, like those are all really good, and I'm just getting better. Like that stuff has changed my life, and is because I've just taught myself, and then the coaches that changed my life, I wanted to do that for other people. Right. You know? Yeah, it's changed my life. And even though there's some people who probably aren't as like gung-ho and like horse blinders on like I am, where it was like, I'm going to do this. Yeah. And if this fails, like, I'm going to do this. And then if we get there, we'll see what happens after. If we get there and it doesn't happen, or if we don't get there, then we'll do something else. Right. Like, it takes like a courageous but also like a stupid kind of person, where it's like, let's just try it, you know?
Yeah.
So when it comes down to it, like, not a lot of people are going to be like me, where they're like, oh, let's just do this. Let's just commit time to it. Who cares? Yeah. That's really what it was. It was like, who cares? Right? We'll figure it out when we get there. That's a problem. That's a problem for future me. Most people are going to be like recreational, right? They're going to be recreational. They're going to be average. They're just going to want to do it to get better. Yeah. Right? So if you can touch these people the same way, if you can touch them and be like, and open up something where it's like, hey, like you're good, like you're doing something that's good for you.
Yeah.
And I would love to help you on this journey. I'd love to guide you if you have any problems, if you have anything, like I can get you those goals that you want.
Yeah.
That's all it is. That's all I want.
Yeah.
That's all that coaches have ever done for me. They've just seen it and gone, oh, this kid has goals.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's just help him get there. That's really what it is.
Yeah. For a closing statement, what would be your greatest advice for going for what you want?
Greatest advice for going after what you want.
Yeah. You said you gotta have horse blinders and you gotta be like somewhat of a stupid person to do it, but yeah, I mean,
it's not so much a stupidity as it is. It's just blind, sheer willingness to do something and regardless of where it takes you, like whether you fail or not, like you just can't be afraid to fail.
Right.
I think there's one thing that I've recently been saying. It's just one thing that's hit me, or that's kind of been in the back of my mind for years now.
Yeah.
And it was something so funny, and something so small, because it happened as like a joke. But we were at Friar Tuck Shop, is where I worked. Dead.
Mm-hmm.
And why is that 20? Is that 20 minutes?
Working out at Friar Tuck's.
So I was working at Friar Tuck's, and the way it's set up is like we were in like the smallest store in the company. So the way it's set up was like there's a door, there's a desk, and maybe like 25 feet in between. Mm-hmm. And my manager at the time, Scott, he grabbed, like, it was just downtime, so there was nothing really to do. So he was just kind of walking around cleaning the store. He had a bunch of pens. He was just picking up pens from like the middle table.
Yeah.
And we had these cups. We had these cups on the desk. Mm-hmm. So he was walking. He was like by the front door, like 25, 30 feet away.
Yeah.
And he would try to shoot the pens into the cup. And he's done it. He said he did it before. He said he had done it before, but I don't believe him. He would just get really close. And then I was like, I want to try. So he's like, okay. So I went and I like hit the cup and like bounced in and it bounced out.
Yeah.
And I was like, that has to count. It has to. He goes, no, it doesn't. I'm like, why not? He's like, it takes a little more to be a champion. Right? So he was joking. Right? He was just joking. He said, takes a little bit more to be a champion. We're talking about cups. Like throwing pens in cups.
Yeah.
But then even after that, every now and then I would hear him say it. I would hear him talk. I would hear him say that.
Uh-huh.
And it never really hit me until like earlier this year.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple months ago, what he really meant by that.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of still trying to figure out. I'm just still trying to find out what it is.
Yeah.
But he's like, it takes a little more to be a champion. You really have to figure out what that little more is in whatever it is that you're doing. Right? If you want to be a champion of your craft, you have to do a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, for someone like me, it's like recovery.
Yeah.
Getting my diet in order, going to bed, drinking enough water.
Yeah.
Training with goals in mind. Logging my training, grading myself. There's like body work, mental skills training, all this stuff. There's so many things that can go into being a high performing athlete.
Yeah.
Some of it's like most weeks I don't do a lot of it. Like I'm pretty bad at eating.
Yeah.
Like I just don't eat. I'm pretty bad at recovery. Like I don't make time to do certain things. And that's the thing. It's like if I want to be a champion, I have to do these things.
Yeah.
So it takes a conscious effort to be better overall to be a champion. That's what separates. That's part of what separates good from great, and then great from the best,
Yeah.
and the best from legends.
Yeah.
Right? So it just depends on the kind of champion that you want to be. But obviously, there's something that separates something that separates them.
Yeah.
So whether it's good from great, and great from the best, and the best from like actual legends, each one of them is doing something a little bit better than the other. They're doing something a little bit more than the other.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it takes a little bit more. It takes a little bit more to be a champion. So it just doesn't matter what craft it is. Doesn't matter what you're interested in. If you want to be a champion at it, if you want to be good at anything, like it takes a conscious effort, a conscious decision every time you do it to try a little harder, to be a little bit better. Just get good.
Get good.
That's really it.
All right. Thanks for the interview.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
I'll go to bed.
I know you are.